You know, by this point, everybody is familiar with the Boss HM-2 heavy metal distortion pedal because it's basically the earliest foundation of what has become known as the death metal chainsaw tone. But what about it is much more overlooked successor, the HM-3 hyper metal?
Just play the damn thing.
If you watch my channel, you know that nobody loves Boss pedals more than I do, but I've always kind of had a love-hate relationship with the HM-2 because it's cool because of the death metal provenance, from Entombed and all those early death metal bands that were using it. Again, the chainsaw tone thing, but let's face it, the reason why those guys like it is because that nasty, gnarly chainsaw tone, and it sounds like shit. That's why those guys like it. For those of us looking for something a little, a high gain tone, a little bit more accessible, HM-2 is not the easiest thing in the world to work with. Though I did do a video a while back that shows that it can be a little bit more versatile depending on various different ways that you use it. Anyway, on its own, it doesn't provide the most, again, the most accessible traditional high gain guitar tones. The HM-3, on the other hand, is kind of a much more cleaned up version of it. No, it's not really a modern tone, though I suppose you can use it for that. I guess I did just use it for that. But it's a little bit different. This pedal I actually have a soft spot for because this was my very first Boss pedal back in 89 or something like that. This is my very first Boss pedal. At the time, when I was a 13, 14-year-old kid, I wanted this, especially in that era, I wanted to sound just like Metallica. And I was desperate to sound just like Metallica, as was every other kid my age learning to play guitar back in that era. The problem was, this thing didn't sound like Metallica, and I didn't have a ear sharp enough to dial it in properly just yet. So in 1991, when the Metal Zone came out, I traded this in to my local guitar shop, bought a Metal Zone, and I still have that pedal there today. Going back and revisiting this thing 35 years later, whatever it's been, this thing's actually pretty cool, and I think it has aged very, very well, particularly in contexts and things that I'm doing nowadays, like recording, particularly recording YouTube demos. This pedal doesn't get the glam and glitz and fanfare that the HM-2 gets. I'll probably shoot it out with an HM-2 here in the future, because it's actually really, really different. But I think you ought to go check these out. You don't see these pop up very often, but I've discovered recently, if you look them up on eBay, there are actually quite a few of these to be found from Japanese eBay sellers, and pretty affordable prices. I think I paid about $90 for this thing shipped. Pretty good deal.